Welcome to Quilting on the Side, the podcast where we uncover the secrets to turning your passion for quilting into a profitable side hustle.
I'm Tori from the Quilt Patch by Tori.
And I'm Andi from True Blue Quilts. And together, we're your co-hosts on this exciting journey of creativity, entrepreneurship, and all things quilting.
We're here to help you navigate the world of quilt pattern design, course creation, digital marketing, and running an online quilt business. We've been through the ups and downs ourselves, so we know what it takes to make money from your favorite hobby.
That's right, Tori. We're going to share our experiences on how we've grown our businesses while balancing family with other paying work responsibilities. It's not always easy, but it's definitely possible. Welcome to another episode of Quilting on the Side. Before we dive into our discussion today, a shout out to our sponsor, True Blue Quilts. Jump over to their shop to find a library of modern designs that will spark joy for both the maker and the recipient of the final quilt. Business owners, be sure to grab the monthly wallpaper, a collection of Canva templates that you can download and use as a daily reminder to keep you reaching for your goals. Now, on with the show. Hi, Tori. I'm excited to tell you today about my experience being part of a summit. Have you ever done anything like that?
I did one time. I have. It was really interesting. It was really fun. I actually did it from this room when I was moving, which is really funny. If you are not seeing this on YouTube, I am coming to you from California. I'm visiting my sister. So I'm in their little mother-in-law suite over here. And me and Andi are on the same time zone. So that's awesome.
It's kind of crazy not to have to do all that conversion math. But yeah, for people that may be unfamiliar, summits are kind of just an online conference. That's the term that e-commerce people in the online world use to describe this joint venture, I guess, is another good way to describe it, where a variety of content creators come together and offer their knowledge, their program, some sort of presentation. And it's been a great way in the quilt world to get a variety of teachers together and, offer some value to an audience that is looking for tutorials, new techniques, and to broaden their horizons.
And so I am going to be interviewing Andi about her experience with this latest summit that she was a part of. Right, Andi, ready?
Yeah, it was the Quilted Summit, and it was put on by Tabitha and Taylor Smith. I met Tabitha. Actually, we interviewed her last season, the Quilt Retreat Queen, and then I met her daughter, Taylor, at Quilterpreneur Retreat, and they were putting together this online summit. It was a 2-day event, and it was just so much fun to be a part of that group and meet all of her audience, a bunch of new friends.
One of my questions is, what inspired you to present at the online summit, and what topic did you choose to focus on?
I love collaborating. I love talking about quilting, and I love to get together with other quilt teachers, with other quilters, and this online summit just sounded like a great way to do that. I am always on the lookout to ways to broaden my audience, to get my name out there in front of new people. Yeah, we're in business to make money, and we want to be able to sell stuff. Sometimes, making the same offer to the same audience over and over, you're obviously going to reach a limit there. So being part of these online summits with a variety of quilters, just gives you that opportunity to expand your reach a little bit. I decided to continue my little bit different collection and promote those 6x9 quilt blocks that I've been designing for the last few years. And I presented my tall tulip block, which has also been featured in a table runner pattern that I have. So I was able to do a little bit of repurposing and put a new spin on that as well.
Also, I love repurposing.
Yeah, definitely the way to do it. And it fits, right in when you have one main technique or pattern or unit with my half rectangle triangles, it allows me to just easily flow into these content sharing opportunities because I can, I have a library of designs that I can talk about. I can demo something fairly quickly. I've got the pieces and parts, to show the construction of those units. And yeah, and it sparks new ideas. So that's why I talk about this collection, and it just keeps growing because, you want to come up with something new, and then that generates a bunch of new ideas and you just keep going with it.
So you mentioned your demo. So can you describe the presentation style? Like was it live? Was it recorded? How did you present your demo?
They used a model where everything was pre-recorded. All the quilt teachers recorded their presentation, and I did a mix of live action where I was demoing my half rectangle triangle block and put it together with some slides because I wanted to have some specific takeaways. I wanted to be able to, have my logo up there so people would remember and be able to visit the True Blue Quilts shop and find the download and all that good stuff. So having it pre-recorded really takes some of the pressure off because you can do multiple takes, you can edit out mistakes, and you can really spend the time organizing your content. It also is very freeing because you get your recording done and sent, and the summit organizers take care of all of those upload and technical requirements. And then when the event launches, you're just ready to sit back, relax, and chat with people. So that was really fun for me to let the recording play. I showed up live to my scheduled time. So while my video was playing, I was able to chat with people through the text message bulletin board that they had as part of the platform.
So I'm imagining it looking a bit like a live on YouTube. Is it kind of like that?
Actually, it was. That's a really good comparison because, yeah, the video is running. There's a chat box off to the side that you can just put your comments in. So any type of live webinar, Zoom, YouTube broadcast, any of those features, it was very, very similar to that. So, as with anything, there's always some technical difficulties and people saying they can't hear and they have to refresh their browser and all those sorts of basic troubleshooting things. But yeah, overall, I think the event was very, very well done and well attended.
That's funny. That's one of my questions was, were there any technical difficulties? Was that it? Just a few people saying they couldn't hear, or was there anything else?
Not that I can remember, that was a month ago. And the speed of life moves so fast that I kind of blocked any issues out of my mind. But yeah, some common things that I remember hearing were people couldn't find the download. And I don't know if that was specifically for me or for one of the other presenters, but if you're going to be part of one of these events, double check, have someone test your links, make sure everything shows up appropriately. There's always going to be people that can't find downloads. It goes to a funky place on their computer. So be prepared with some customer service messages and set reminders to check in on whether it's an email service, whether it's comments on your website, however that's set up. Just spend a little extra time providing that customer service in the days after the event, and you can solidify those relationships and set a good impression for your newfound audience.
So I am curious, how did they get to you? So you're there with all the teachers, they play your video, you're in the chat answering questions. You mentioned a download button. So how would they get to what you're offering?
That's part of the summit experience, is that they sent out a package of links, email with the presenter information. And so it was included in that, and the kind of the video description that you see on multiple platforms had the link with it. So they were able to click over to my website that was sent directly to the page that had the information. And the way I like to set things up when I am doing these summit events is to have my free offer as a product in my shop. because I have an email sequence set up so that if anybody new purchases even something free, it's set up as a zero cost item, they then are followed up with the email asking if they want to join my list, if they want to stay in touch with me. And so that's why it's really important not to just put a blank page up there on your website for somebody to access a Google document. You actually want to make it a PDF, product in your shop for $0 and collect those emails that way.
Yeah, I've also seen it where it's very similar, where they have a email sign up form. So they have it, get this sent straight to your inbox. And that also kicks off an email sequence. I agree with you. I think it's really important to make sure that they're exchanging their email, and then they ask them, do you want to stay in contact? That's really smart.
I'm kind of anticipating any question coming up about lessons learned. It was stressful, but it was happy stress because I was flooded with orders, which is a terrible problem to have, right? As a business owner. With my little bit different quilt blocks, I have a specialty ruler, and I hadn't paid much attention. I hadn't thought too much ahead, but I sold out in 2 days with my stock on hand. And I then had to scramble and reorder. And of course, some people were disappointed that they had a delay in their order. So you have to be ready again with those customer service emails, be quick to apologize, communicate clearly. And it's one of those things that as you're growing your business, it may be hard to make those predictions. You don't want to order a ton and be stuck with extra stock that's not selling. So you kind of have to, maybe do I always think of, the catering trick when you're planning your wedding, they add 10% on the guest list, right? To make sure they have enough food for everybody. So that's probably a good rule of thumb for ordering as well, if you're thinking about printed patterns or notions or anything like that.
I think it's really good advice. And you sold out. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was fun to see that people were excited to try half rectangle triangles and saw the value in having the specialty ruler. So if you want to know more about all of that, I feature the little bit different collection on my YouTube channel, True Blue Quilts. So hop on over there and I'll give you the full rundown.
Speaking of your YouTube, I know that you've been doing videos for a long time, but did you face any challenges when you were preparing this video?
Not really. I have a pretty simple setup and routine that I've perfected. I use a mic stand with a special clamp that has an iPhone holder because I record everything on my phone. So I'm able to just use that mic stand. It's got the long arm that I can put over my table and demo the cutting and the tricks for half rectangle triangles with that setup. And then it's just a matter of editing the video and putting in the slides, like I mentioned, that I wanted to do some voiceover recording for those. It wouldn't be a 20-hour project, but you do need a couple hours over several days to record and to edit any type of presentation like that.
Did you get any feedback from the attendees after you
Yeah,
presented?
I did. Forgive me for tooting my own horn, but I did get positive comments that I was a good teacher. They appreciated that I got right into the demo and didn't put my sales pitch up front. It's one of those things you have to, again, find that balance, because we do want to sell our ancillary products, our add-ons that we have planned. We want these summits to be profitable events, but you don't want to come right out of the gate with, hey, I've got this thing for you to buy. And you don't need to tell people, I started quilting 20 years ago and this was my first quilt, and, get to the point of your topic. So I was there to demo my half rectangle triangle block. And so I gave them a quick preview and dove into the action items. So I did get positive feedback on that.
Did you have any memorable moments from the summit?
I do want to commend Taylor for having a teacher meetup about a week beforehand. She just had a casual Zoom session, and anybody that was available was able to log on and chat. And that was really nice to be in a relaxed atmosphere and just be able to chat in real time with these quilters that I've admired online for so many years. Those live Zoom calls, as much as we get tired of being on screen, are really fun. If you can't be in person together, then a live Zoom chat is a good alternative.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So, how did you promote your session and ensure that participants would attend and engage with your content? So, how did you participate in that?
Yeah, you have to gauge your availability for these type of events. It sounds like it is going to be really easy to pre-record. You send off your recording and then you just show up the day of. No, not really. You need to send out an email sequence. And we've talked a lot of times on this podcast about launch sequences, and a summit is the same thing. You need to prep your audience. You need to mention it more often than you think is necessary. I did. And again, this is where Taylor did an absolutely fabulous job about giving us resources. So she developed an email sequence. She sent us the wording and it was just a copy and paste. She had several variations of the graphics done ahead of time so I could use those to post on social media. I made sure to mention it in my YouTube live sessions that I was going to be doing this summit. I mentioned it to my quilt guild when I met in person with some friends. So just anything and everything you can do to get the word out in the 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time is going to be important for your overall success. And it's kind of a gamble in that you hope that everybody else is doing the same promotion, but just make that commitment and stick to it. They've got a plan for a reason. Just work the plan.
I'm curious now that it's been a month and then you saw the influx of new people. Are you seeing a good amount stick around?
I have not seen a huge drop off. There's been some, so you have to kind of divorce yourself from the emotions of your numbers because it's not about your self-worth. I'm still the same fabulous person that I was, no matter what my email numbers are. Yeah. Seeing a drop off in numbers, you just have to figure that is the people that weren't that interested, and you're narrowing down to your true fans. So I'm pretty good at dealing with the potential rejection of unsubscribers. So that's fine.
I think it's a great mindset to have because you're going to have people who absolutely loved what you did, some people who want to drop in, grab what they want, and then leave. And you'll have some people who are like, how did I even get here?
Yep. So that does remind me because and you're really good about this, scheduling out some of those follow-up emails because you're all excited to do the pre-launch information. And then it's like, we put so much out in the world that we need that downtime to recover. And if you ghost people in the couple weeks after the session, so definitely do plan that follow up, which is something I have to keep reminding myself of.
It's hard because, like you said, we get really excited about the pre-launch. We're talking about it. We kind of exhaust ourselves. So when it's time to actually deliver the workshop or deliver the presentation of the summit, we're exhausted and we're done. And you forget that it's really good to have something scheduled ahead of time so that you can get those people who are like, how did I even get here? They get an introduction to who you are, and hopefully that introduction helps them stick around and see what else you have.
Yeah, for sure. You just have to keep showing up. That's the unfortunate reality of our life and our desire to be in business is you need to stay top of mind. And the only way to do that is keep posting, keep sending newsletters, and just keep moving forward.
And schedule it so when you have energy so that you can
Yes.
rest when you don't have the energy.
Right, right.
So it looks like you're showing up all the time constantly, but really you showed up at the first part of it when you had the energy.
Right. You showed up double time for 2 weeks and then you took 2 weeks off. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Do you
course.
have any advice for anybody who's looking to join a summit?
I would say just keep networking with other quilt designers and shop owners, and there may be people out there who haven't heard of the idea of these summits, and don't worry about I'm too small, because that's the beauty of these collaborations, is that the larger people, yes, can carry along some of the smaller audiences, but the whole idea that we've said for years is that the rising tide lifts all boats. And so, as long as we're all supportive and friendly and welcoming to a variety of audiences, then it allows people to pick and choose and explore the different perspectives in quilting. And not everybody's going to appeal to everybody. So you have to cast a wide net to find your people.
Yeah, I love collaborations. I think that it's the one of the fastest way to grow an audience is to participate with other business owners who have even of a small audience. Because if you have 200, I have 200, together we have 400. And then you add in a summit like that where I think, do you remember how many presenters there were?
There were, I think, 11,000 attendees, and I don't remember. Obviously, we've talked a lot about funnels. So the 11,000 got the free attendance, and then maybe 10%, but even that's, 1,000 people that bought the all access pass, which was the paid level. And then, of that, I may have had, maybe 10 that came from my affiliate link. So that's kind of the structure of the offer, is everybody's promoting the free link, and then you have a specific link for anybody that decides to purchase. And that's how you get some of the affiliate income, the bonus payments for participating. So you're doing some work up front for free, but overall, this was such a blessing to me to have a successful event, in that it got me email subscribers, it got me the revenue from my product sales, and it got me some affiliate commission as well. So I count it as a win, even with some of the struggles of, my main offer going out of stock, grumpy people that were at the bottom of the list. And I didn't realize by the time I said confirm the order that, oh gosh, I don't actually have the product to fulfill. But yeah, we got over those hurdles, and I'm looking forward to future events, because I think a lot of different quilters are putting these summits together with a variety of themes. So keep your ear to the ground, keep tuned in. We'll share opportunities as much as we can when we hear of people with calls for participation.
Hearing that 11,000, I think that's really encouraging for those with smaller audiences, to hear that getting together. I remember seeing the promotion for it. I think there were about, I don't know, 12 to 15 presenters for Quilted. Is that right?
Yeah, I think we actually had over 25 over
25?
the
Okay.
2 days. So
Having
yeah, it was a really good event.
All right. So everybody brought a little bit of their audience and it became 11,000. Can you imagine 11,000 people that someone with a 250 person following can reach, and how that can boost your business? And if you join one of those maybe 3 times a year, you can kind of imagine how your business can grow pretty quickly. So definitely, like Andi said, keep your ear to the ground. We'll definitely share if we hear of any opportunities.
Yeah, and I always like to put things in perspective, because sometimes, people are afraid to go live on Instagram or YouTube or online somewhere, because they're like, no one will show up. And it's like, well, even if you only had a few people show up and one or two people chat in the text during the event, that's like sitting at a table with 3 or 4 people. And for a lot of us who are introverted, that's all we're happy with, is just, a small circle of friends. And then I remember teaching high school, that's a class of 30. Okay. So I can visualize that. That's a good number. If you get 100, 150, that's your whole day of teaching in a classroom. But like you said, 11,000, that's a small stadium. You go to a basketball game, there's 11,000 people in the stands, and that's who we have the potential to reach. So I would encourage people, get your presentation together. And we just talked a few weeks ago on the podcast about guild presentations and how to structure a talk like that. So we
Yes.
definitely have the resources for people to prepare.
Yeah, anything that you present for a guild can be presented for a webinar. You can tweak it
Mhm.
a little bit, especially if the time frame is a lot shorter, which I imagine, Andy, yours was probably a little bit shorter than what you could do for a guild.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely what Andy said, you can create a presentation and about your guild presentations, and that's going to be amazing.
Yep. Once you've done it once, then you have those resources because we're all about repurposing. Even if you do decide to re-record and have a fresh take, you have the structure, you have the script, you have the outline ready to go for the next event. And I had a business coach I followed a few years ago whose best advice was to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So even if you don't have something on the books, on the calendar now, go ahead and take the adventure of creating this recording as if you were going to present, and then you'll have it and put that intention out in the universe. You never know what comes up next.
I think that's a beautiful way to end our podcast today.
I do want to remind everybody to head over to True Blue Quilts to find your next quilt pattern or the monthly wallpaper for business owners to set their goals and keep it in front of them every day. Thanks for being with Tori and I, and we hope you find time to do a
A little
little
quilting on
quilting
this.
on the side. What a great discussion. If you enjoyed this episode of Quilting on the Side, please leave us a review on whichever platform you're listening. It can be iTunes, Spotify, or even our YouTube channel.
And hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next chat. Until then, remember to have fun in your business and do a little quilting on the side.